We're here today to showcase new accounting features available in your Rentec Direct account for asset, liability, and equity accounts. These new full accounting options include a full chart of accounts, profit and loss reports, and tools to help you identify transactions which may cause problems with reconciliation and balancing. I'm Kaycee with Rentec Direct, and our president and founder, Nathan Miller, is with me today to show you these assets, liabilities, and equity accounting features.
Thanks, Kaycee. Let's go into the Rentec Direct software and show you the assets, liabilities, and equity account features. I'd like to start by going over to settings and show a new option. Within accounting defaults, we have this new setting to use strict accounting rules. Now, this setting is going to help you or your employees make sure that mistakes are not made when entering new transactions. And just so I can show this off a little bit today, I'm going to turn it off so you can see the impact and what we can catch. So for now, I'll turn that off. And now I'm going to go over and I'm going to show you the main new report in the system. It's called a balance sheet report. And right now I have this empty account. So all these are zeros. We've got all of our asset, liabilities, and equity accounts, and everything equals 0. And as we make some changes and work on our account today, these values are going to change, and we'll see that happening. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go do some typical tasks you would do when setting up your account or just using your account on a daily basis. But right now, since this one's empty, we're going to go ahead and create a bank account. And for this bank account, I'm going to set an opening balance of $10,000. Now, this is a new field when you're creating new accounts for opening balance. If you happen to add a bank account or any assets or liabilities accounts moving forward in the system, you'll have this as an option, and it's going to automate a bunch of tasks related to this value. And I'll show you how these impact the balance sheet once it's done. Since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and add an additional bank account where we're going to keep our security deposits as well. And I'm going to leave its opening balance at 0. And now let's go add a property. And I'm going to scroll down here, and here's another new option. This is, again, related to the balance sheet, in that when you're adding a property, you might want to link an asset account to that property. And in this case, I'm going to pick a number. I'm going to say this property is worth $250,000. We're not going to add any marketing information for this particular demo. And now I'm going to go over to this new section under banking called Chart of Accounts. Within the chart of accounts, you're going to see some of that information I just entered. For example, the $250,000 asset account for the property. And then we put that $10,000 into the demo bank account that we created as well. And you'll notice the sum total of those equal $260,000, which is automatically posts into the opening balance account. Now that happens automatically. You don't have to do that. And that keeps your balance sheet balanced between your assets, liabilities, and equity. And now we're going to take a look at the balance sheet, which is going to mimic some of those same numbers. We have our bank account, our property we added. We can see our total assets equal $260,000. And then everything else for our liabilities and equity also equal $260,000. It's very important in the accounting world that those two numbers match, the total assets and the total liabilities and equity. And we'll see as we do things here today what might unbalance them and what will fix them. So let's go back to properties and let's move in a tenant. Okay, we're going to go ahead and post some income for this tenant that we just moved in. I'm going to post $466.67, which is their balance. And this is a cash transaction, so you should be selecting a bank account or an undeposited funds account that this is going in, but I'm purposely not going to select something so I can show off a new feature. Okay, so I selected no bank account. Now I'm going to run back over to our balance sheet, and we're going to look at what happened here. So we talked about assets and liabilities and equity having to balance, and right now they don't. You'll notice we have 260 up here and we have 260,466 down here. That's because we just received income for rental income, which goes into your retained earnings, which added it right here, and that affects this. But since we didn't put it in a bank account, it's not up here. So this can happen. It's pretty typical. Something gets forgotten. And what we did is we created a new report called balance discrepancies. We go into this balance discrepancies, it's going to show us exactly which transactions cause any reconciliation problems you might be having or balance sheet discrepancies. And fixing it is super easy. We just click on the transaction, we fix what's wrong with it. So we're going to go ahead and put this into our demo bank, and you save. That's it. Now our balance discrepancies report is empty. And if we were to go back over to our balance sheet, you'll notice we have two matching numbers now. Okay, now I'm going to go and we're going to take that setting that we turned off earlier. I'm going to go to accounting defaults and I'm going to turn it back on. And we're going to do the exact same steps we just did, but I'm going to show you how it's going to save you from causing that error in the first place. So tenants, post income, I'll just post $100 in this case. I'm going to leave the bank account as none and move forward. And we get a big red arrow that says bank account is required. It lets us know right there this would cause a mistake in our accounting, so it requires that you fix that before moving forward. And this is a great feature, not just for you, but if you have employees or anyone else that might be entering data into your account, this can help keep them on track with doing the accounting properly. So once we selected a bank and posted it, it went through just fine.
So Nathan, what are some common use cases where you might use an asset or liability account?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'll go through probably one of the most common ones that I do when I'm managing and posting expenses to my properties. So let's go back over to our chart of accounts and let's create a liability account because we have this $250,000 asset, but it's not very typical that property is wholly owned. So let's go ahead and create a liability account for the loan for that particular account. So we're going to call this a long-term liability, as most loans would be. And let's say the loan is $200,000. So I'll save that. Now we have, really quickly, I'll go back to our balance sheet. Now we have this new loan balance of $200,000 in here. And I'm going to go ahead and go over to our demo bank and I'm going to post an expense and I'm going to pretend I'm making a mortgage payment. So my payee is, I'm just going to add the bank for now. These are both for demo property. And when we're making a payment, half of it's interest and half of it is going towards your liability account or your loan in this case. And just for nice round numbers, I'm going to choose $100 is going to interest and $900 is going to the loan for a nice even $1,000. And I'll go ahead and post that expense. Now we're looking at the bank ledger and we can see just by hovering over this transaction we just posted that there's the contents of that transaction. But if we go to our reports now and our balance sheet, we'll see, so we posted this out of the demo bank, so this balance went down. Our loan went down by $900 and our retained earnings It went down by 100 because we posted the $100 interest payment. We also posted $100 rent, so those actually balanced out. But the important thing here is our total assets and liabilities remains balanced, and that's a very typical transaction where you're using one of your asset or liability accounts as part of your everyday transactions.
I understand we can now archive accounts. Would you mind explaining that a little bit further for us?
Yeah, this is a new feature that we added as we were adding in the new chart of accounts. And I'll go back over here to our chart of accounts. And let's just say we didn't intend to create this asset account because it's not our asset. If you're a property manager, you're not actually holding the asset and you just accidentally created it. Well, we can just come in here and we can archive it. You can do this with any type of account that you've created in the system now. We'll archive it, and the system, what has to happen is the system has to always remain balanced. So we had a $250,000 balance in there. Well, that $250,000 has to go somewhere when you archive the account, so that balance sheet remains balanced. Now, Rentec Direct will automatically post an offsetting entry to zero that account out when you archive it to keep everything in balance. And I'll show you where that goes right now. So since we made no transactions on this account, this was the asset of the bank for $250,000. It's still $250,000. And if I archive it, and then I go down to, I'm actually going to search for opening balance. We can see right here, the system, when we created it, it had a $250,000 amount that went into the account. And then when we just archived it, $250,000 came out.
So a lot of our clients use Rentec Direct for managing security deposits. Can you show us if anything has changed on managing security and receiving security deposits in Rentec Direct?
Yeah, you bet. Let's go over to that tenant we moved in. And I'm gonna go to their deposit ledger. And a lot of this is very similar, but what has changed is down here, we used to have transfer deposit, and that was used for dual purpose. If you're a property manager, it was used for transferring to accounts. It was also used for transferring to owners. There was a little bit of confusion there, so we simplified it and we broke it into two. Down here, we have transfer deposit now, which is just specific to transferring your deposit from one bank account to another. And then we've got the new one for PM users. If you want to transfer the security deposit to an owner, then you would use this option, and you're transferring it to the owner's property ledger. And that would be typical. You'd be choosing like a category like a tenant reimbursed expense while doing that. If the owner, for example, is completing a repair that the tenant is paying for out of their security deposit. So we've simplified that interface a lot. And then every action here that has to do with cash now influences your security deposits asset account. So to show that off, I'm just going to go ahead and receive a deposit here for, let's say, $1,000 for this particular tenant, since that's what they owe. I'm going to choose a bank account because the system's going to require that now since I put strict accounting on. And we're going to put that in the security deposits bank account as well. There we are. And now I'm going to go back over to our balance sheet. And you can see this security deposits bank account has $1,000 in it, but also, regardless where we deposited that into, we also have this security deposits held liability account. And so we can go into that, and every security deposit transaction that you do within Rentec Direct will show up here, regardless which tenant it happens to belong to. Now, you can also create additional security deposit held accounts if you wish, and you can, if you have more than one, then that's going to show up as a selector for you when you're transacting security deposit cash transactions.
Thanks for showing off those accounting features, Nathan. It seems like the new assets, liability, equity accounting, and that balance sheet is really going to be helpful for a lot of our clients. Can you tell us a little bit about why the Rentec Direct development team decided to work on these features and what the benefit for those clients will be?
Yeah, this has been one of the most highly requested features that we've had for a number of years, and it was a big one. It took us a long time, over a year and a half, to get through all the work to make this happen with adding in assets, liabilities, equity, archiving accounts, the new security deposit features. It was big, lots of work, lots of people involved. The big benefit to this is there's no need to transfer any records from Rentec into a third-party accounting platform anymore. You don't need QuickBooks or Xero or any of those other applications out there that are typically used, that are often used in for landlords to manage their records. With the balance sheet and the profit and loss, that's what your accountant needs. So long as those are balanced, which we talked a lot about today, that's exactly what your accountant is going to rely on in order to file your taxes and make sure your books are straight.
Well, thanks again, Nathan. And I really want to throw this message out to our clients. If you ever need any assistance understanding this new feature or help looking at your account as you start working with the new accounting features, you're always welcome to reach out to your success team at Rentec Direct. Thank you always, and we look forward to serving you.